Okay, so the one big announcement I really wanted to get into with you guys, and this is juicy. Jeremy, I don't know if you know what I'm about to say, but this is like... this is some savory. This is savory! Okay, so I didn't know what the UFC was going to do with Israel Adesanya from this point. I thought, maybe there's the Whitaker matchup, but we live in the pandemic era of matchmaking, right? Where the bigger the better, even if it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And... at the same time, this kind of intersecting story that we've been talking about is that light heavyweight's actually exciting again.
Wide open.
I did hear about this, actually.
And I thought the UFC was going to take some time, do the smart move, play the long game, develop your light heavyweight division. Jan Blachowicz has a cool story.
Blachowicz.
Are you mansplaining to me right now? So they've got an interesting 205 division. Jan could maybe build him up as a nice European star, capture that Polish market. It was interesting. And then they're like, no, let's nuke the division. Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz.
What'd I say?
Dropping a nuke on the light heavyweight division. They do not want to see the light heavyweight division succeed.
What'd I say?
But Jeremy said Jan's the guy, though. In fairness,
what'd I say?
He said
we want to see it, man. We want to see fights, man. We just want to see competitive fights. And you're the one who said you want to see him against a really good bull. Here's your bull. Bull, Matador meet Bull, Bull meet Matador.
Look, that's a good point, and I like that. I like your thinking, but come on, can we build them up a little more? Can we get the maybe like a Glover Teixeira, Thiago Santos, a couple of fights, so this matchup has a little bit of epicness to it. You know what I mean? I feel like we've just crowned our new champ, and people are just ready to get behind him, invest in him, and then they're just like, you know what? This is the Izzy show, ladies and gentlemen.
But sorry, I'll let David go in before I say my thing.
No, I was just going to say, what's the point in building up a division? What's the point in having fights? Like, what was this weekend? We had one. I should have better notes of this. But it was... Oh, my goodness. Some guy. Anyway, no.
David is the guy who stumbles into work an hour late with a hangover. Shirt half tucked in his pants. His notes are all scattered and like not in their binder, falling out of the place. I saw some guy punch some other guy in the face.
This podcast is
chaos right now. Last week because I feel like this was a valid point. No, the Ankalaev fight. What's the point in having fights like the Ankalaev fight? If you're just gonna nuke the division every single time, what's the point in building up light heavyweight fighters? Because if you're go on. Sorry,
let him speak. I want to hear this.
No. That's how I feel because, and it's not just a light heavyweight thing. It's any division. Yeah. What's the point in having a division where people are working towards a goal if you're just going to say, actually, the rankings don't mean anything? We're just going to...
Exactly. And I feel like let me explain something because I have a point here. Because on one level, I agree with you. And this is what Ray Seppo, and I always say, this is what Ray Seppo and World Series of Fighting, now PFL, tried to do. They tried to make the rankings matter. They instituted a point system. They made it sure that you had to climb a ladder. Here's the thing with the UFC, though, is Jon Jones and Israel Adesanya really want a matchup in 2021. Mothers have been brought into this. Wives have been brought into this. They really want the UFC and everybody...
Their mothers and wives are going to fight, too?
No, personally, they've been talked about.
Family feud?
They signed the contract?
No, hold on, guys. Let me explain. The UFC really wants this matchup to take place, and Israel Adesanya said... I only want it in 2021 or at some point where I'm not going to be a statistic for Jon Jones, where I'm ready. So what they want to do, at least this is my thinking, is they want the belt off of Jan so that Jon Jones comes back to face Israel Adesanya in 2021.
Step aside.
First of all,
step aside.
Man, can I just say, can we stop pretending, with all due respect, stop pretending that when you reach a certain level that these belts really mean anything. When you reach a certain level, you're really fighting for the money. You're not fighting for I'm trying to be the champion. Jon Jones has been champion for years. His legacy is solidified. He doesn't need to be a light heavyweight champion again. Even if Adesanya lost his next fight, you really think that he's not going to have the confidence of a champion? I'm not buying it, man. I just think there's no need to nuke an entire division just so that you can put on a super fight. Like, it just doesn't feel right.
I agree with you partially. I agree with you for the most part. I do think fighters have other motivations other than money necessarily at the high levels. And I'll give you a couple of examples. Like, I mean, John Jones is set for life, as is someone like George St. Pierre. I think what drives them in a lot of cases is the challenge and the greatness and building a legacy, right? And I think one loss can really affect one. Now, that being said, I agree with you. And I feel like when you have too many super fights, they're just fights. You know, like they're no longer super fights. Back in the day, George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn was one of the biggest fights of all time because they both cleaned out their respective divisions, right? There was time in between their first matchup. The storyline had time to ferment and like form a nice, juicy, there's a nice, juicy storyline.
And I have to say, BJ Penn's promotion of that fight, A1.
George, I'm going to the death. I'm going to kill you, and I'm not joking about that. He had the best trash talking line I've ever heard in MMA. Well, one of my favorites. Okay, so they were filming the promo, and they're just BJ and his crew. They're sitting around in Hilo. He's training. He's like, George, listen to me. I want you to do something for me. Okay, go home, relax, take your shoes off, go to bed, lay down, take about a good 10-20 minutes. And go fuck yourself. That is the best way I've heard.
Write it down, Michael. Write it
I
down.
like that. It was a good line. That's a good line.
Yeah. No, but me and Michael were talking about this. I can't remember when, but we had this discussion, and I said with the comparison to boxing, like with MMA, guys' legacies happen so quickly because these fights are so. They happen so fast. Like you don't get years to get like a fight like Tiafimo and Loma, because those fights rarely happen. And I think because of that, you have the guys' legacies happen like in the span of 5 years, as opposed to guys like Floyd Mayweather, whose legacy spanned over like 10 years per se.
Yep.
So so I can't remember where I was going with this point, but
it's the other end of the spectrum, right? It's the other extreme.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Like, so you kind of want to have that like sweet spot, that middle ground. Exactly. Like, I think you're right though. Yeah. I think you would want to see a lightweight division kind of build itself up in terms of competition and storylines and everything like that. But I mean, frankly, I'm excited to see.
Look, I just
go at it.
I just know what's happening. Like, I'm not stupid. When the UFC does things like bully Leon Edwards into fighting Khamzat Chimaev through negotiation,
that really rubbed you the wrong way.
Oh my God! Because that's. You want to know why the antitrust lawsuit's happening? Because of stuff like that. Now, I get it. It's a lower level thing to bully Leon Edwards into a match with Khamzat Chimaev.
Yeah, but it's bad faith business practice.
That's why people are mad. That is why people are mad. So when the UFC, so I know what the UFC's doing, and I know that they can't BS me. I know they want that Jones versus that Izzy matchup, and I know this is a step one to do it. Now, if Jan blows him up in the first round, then they've learned their lesson. But
by the way, as far as the Leon Edwards situation, it's like, hey, you're an independent contractor. Start acting like it and fall in line.
Oh, you know what? My point was though that's why Anderson Silva is my GOAT, because of how the UFC works and how he was able to sustain his dominance over that course of time. Although I wasn't really a big UFC fan during that time. Was it the same kind of thing where they would make these fights happen so quickly during his reign?
No, so during his reign, there was a lot less cross-divisional matchups. Yeah. Like, it just didn't happen.
Although he did it regularly, though.
He did it. No, that was going to be my point. Not only did he do it regularly, well, first of all, I think Anderson Silva built his legacy slightly different from, like, a lot of like Conor McGregor, where he's jumping divisions and taking belts and doesn't really care. He built his legacy through winning the title and then defending the title for a record-breaking amount of time.